another Saturday. Good morning. This is Robert Bryant. We got Julius Hall. Good morning, Julius. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We got another Saturday here with the Watchdogs, our Black Media Network. We have two wonderful guests, two of my favorites. And Julius, I guess if you would do the pleasure of introducing these wonderful ladies.
Well, first we got Miss Patty Durand running for Public Service Commission, and then we got Miss Michelle Munroe running for that seat that everybody is after, that first congressional seat. We want to thank you ladies for being with us today because we know that it's only, 9 days or so before the election, 10 days, and you all are out doing all the things. I can see, Michelle, you're out there somewhere on the road. So we just want you, the peoples of our viewers, to see what you all what y'all platforms are, and to get a perspective of why you all are running from your mouths, not ours.
Right.
So just a conversation, and Robert will take it over.
Not really, but if we could, what we kind of do, if we should be expecting more panelists. As we add more panelists, we'll be mindful of time. But right now, you all have all the time in the world to tell us about yourselves and your platform. Both of you all have appeared before on this show, but I'm delighted that you're back to offer more information. But again, if we could briefly know who you are, what you're running for, and your platform, and we'll give you a good piece of time to start with that, and then we'll dive a little deeper and some questions that maybe we didn't cover in your first appearance. If we could start with you, Michelle.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's very important to get out and about, and as I am out and about already, and I'm down here at Forsyth Park in Savannah, Georgia, getting ready to go to the pro-abortion rally, and that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm Dr. Michelle Munroe, and I'm running for the 1st Congressional District. Now, I am a nurse midwife, and so I have fought since the beginning, from day one, for reproductive freedom. It has been one of my main platform items, but also for Black maternal mortality, because in the state we are 49 out of 50 states, and infant mortality in Chatham County alone, we get an F for infant mortality. But overall, the state of Georgia, we went up just slightly this past year, so we get a D-. But historically, we've been an F. And so I met Buddy Carter. I said, hey, use me. I'm a midwife. I can help. Let's make it better. And he said, that's not my problem. That's a state issue. And I disagree. As a congressperson, you are supposed to represent the people. And so I felt very passionate about stepping into this race. And so my platform items are, as I mentioned, the reproductive freedom, but education, healthcare alone in the state, we have atrocious outcomes. Even the elderly, we're 50th out of 50. We got to make changes in Georgia, and we need the right person in office to do that. Education system, we only require children to go to school from age 6 to 16. So kindergarten is not required, and we have a lottery system, and that only benefits the rich people because they can pay for their spot in the lottery, or there's definitely disenfranchisement going on, and we need to fix that too. And I believe in early childhood education, starting at 3 years old. Let's get them in at 3 days a week, then 4 days a week at 4 years old, and then kindergarten mandatory. It would help that progression. It helps socialization. It helps set kids up for success with an amazing foundation. And then being military officer, I believe in setting those transitions in life. So high school transition, college transition, military transition, even retiree transition. You see, we need to have programs in place because all kids do not need to go to college. My daughter alone went to Auburn, and she thought she wanted to be a physician. She has a 4-year degree, and she's now going back to school again because she decided she doesn't want to be a physician. So that's a lot of debt that people take on that they don't necessarily need to. And by having programs, internships, apprenticeships, even trade programs to work with our electricians, our plumbers, they would be magnificent to start at 16 years old. I have a son-in-law whose father owns a plumbing company and a cousin who owns a plumbing company, and you can work for them at 16. Their insurance would cover you. So imagine if we set up programs like this for the summer where kids were learning how to be a plumber at 16 years old. So I get very passionate about this. I get very excited, but I want to share one last thing, and that's, my competitors have taken a lot of my talking points that I have done and used them their own. So I can tell you that I'm leading the way in this district, and that I would recommend that you vote for somebody who's authentic and you can trust. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Chandra, if you could pop back in. I think two of my favorites, and that's because they're running for office that is very dear to me, and that's the Public Service Commission. We have the opportunity to not only change the narrative, but to elect two women, which I think is even more powerful, to the Public Service Commission. And so, Patty, if you would, to share your information with us today.
Absolutely. So my name is Patty Durand, and I'm running for Georgia Public Service Commissioner District 2. But I want to make sure all your viewers know that the districts don't matter, that they can vote for any public service commissioner. So when my colleague Chandra Farley joins this program, she's also running for public service commissioner, but she's not my competitor. She's running for a different seat, and you can vote for both of us. So I'm running for the PSC because I have a long background in energy, exceeding 12 years, maybe 15, depending on what counts. And so I've been watching the PSC for about 10 years at least. And I've seen a lot of very poor decision making. The current commissioners are all Republicans. Until recently, they were all white male conservatives, and they have been a disaster for the state of Georgia. Their values center on being business friendly. Instead of protecting the public interest, their votes and their record shows that they care most of all that Georgia Power has record profits, extremely high profits relative to other utilities in the rest of the country, which is completely inappropriate for any state, but especially for Georgia. We're not a wealthy state. We're not a heavily populated state. Our utilities should not be among the most wealthiest utilities in the country. And the decisions at the PSC have actually harmed people, which I can document. But just for the purposes of this interview, I will share with your audience that Georgia Power disconnects over 12,000 people every single month from power. And just think about that, because that means not only do they lose their lights and air conditioning and cooking if they have an electric oven, but they also lose their phone because they can't charge their battery. They lose their food because their refrigerator spoils and all their freezer items spoil. They lose Wi-Fi, so they cannot apply for unemployment benefits or look for work. And we assume that they need to do both if they're not able to pay their bill. And it's a catastrophe. And during the pandemic alone, Georgia Power disconnected 131,000 people, which was extremely inappropriate given that all of their costs were fully reimbursed through both the CARES Act and the PSC. And there's just so much wrong that goes on down there. We have the 8th highest electric bills in the nation. We should be in the 20s at the highest. And that's not counting natural gas. If you add in natural gas bills, then we rise to the 4th highest bills in the nation. And then we have Plant Vogtle, which is a scandal. I like to call it, I like to give people the analogy of the Titanic steaming toward an iceberg in the middle of the night. Plant Vogtle is a slow motion disaster that is coming to hit Georgia's power bills in a catastrophic way. And if we're not number one in electric bills by the end of when Plant Vogtle's cost gets put into the rates, I don't know why not, because they will be very, very high. The costs for Plant Vogel are in the billions. The management and schedule has constantly been poor. The management's plans for the schedule have been wrong every single time. It doesn't matter when you look at the dates they've committed to, they've been wrong. And it doesn't matter what budget you look at for Plant Vogel costs, that's been wrong. And these are experts. So I find it hard to believe that they are just wrong over and over. I'm a little bit more suspicious that it is willful, that they are telling us things, they're lowballing costs and faking a deliverable schedule that they know they can't meet, because it's just hard for me to understand that they can be that wrong for 6 years in a row. And if you just look at some of the filings from the independent monitor that is looking at Plant Vogel's cost and schedule on behalf of the commission, not working for the commission and not working for Georgia Power, which is why he's called an independent monitor, and you look at his filings, they are very, very stark in their blaming and placing fault at the leadership of Southern Nuclear, which is running this project. And, you know, people that do filings for the commission are very professional, they're highly educated. But when you read his filing, you can see that he's throwing some serious punches in the way he words the performance of this project. So there's just issue after issue, whether it's high bills, whether it's Plant Vogel, whether it's renewable energy. Georgia has less than 10% of its generation mix. That's renewables, well below our peers in North and South Carolina and Florida, our peer southeastern states on rooftop solar. The amount of penetration we have is a fifth of theirs, and ours is stopped while theirs is continuing. So all of these issues have been frustrating me for a long time. And these are part of the reason why I'm running for Georgia Public Service Commission. And there's some more, but I'll stop here because we might get to more time for the main issues that caused me to actually leave my job and run. But that's just the overview I'd like to start with.
Right. And so Chandra is the other PSC candidate, Public Service Commission candidate. And for the viewers who are watching, you will hear them talk about districts. We'll get a little bit to that later, but regardless of you hearing them talking about districts, it's like the governor's race. They will appear on every ballot in every county throughout the state of Georgia. So when you see Chandra and Patty, you vote for both of them because all of Georgia votes for them regardless of the district. So Chandra, if you would, please.
Thanks so much, Robert and Julius. It's good to be with you all again today. I am in transit and working on some background noise, but good to be here with my colleague, Patty Durand. And we are ready to take back the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Commission has been all Republican-led almost since its inception. Particularly for the last 2 decades. They have done, never met a rate increase they didn't like, as Patty will say, but they've been consistently raising our rates. They've been consistently making decisions that harm the health of Georgians. We want to talk about coal ash and the environmental justice impacts of that, the impacts on our water, and protecting the utility monopoly at any cost, and that cost is falling to Georgians. Increasing rates, rising utility bills, just the rising cost of energy. These decisions that the commission is making every single day have an impact on our households, they have an impact on our incomes, and they have an impact on our future. And it is time that we have people on the commission who are ready to authentically consider the voice of Georgians, the people who are bearing the brunt of these impacts, the people who are feeling the very real impacts of commission decisions immediately in the short term. When the commission makes a decision to raise rates like they did in December 2019, people saw that on their bills in January. So these are things that are happening consistently, and it is time that we have some change on the commission, and I intend to be a part of that change.
All right.
Okay.
Well, CEO Hall, Julius Hall, I'll defer to you. And guess we kick off with a few questions.
Well, we got the Attorney General candidate, Christian Wise Smith, trying to connect also, I see, but I don't think
Right.
his devices have
I'll,
chimed in yet.
I'll keep an eye on him, and we'll make sure we get him in when he's ready.
Okay. So my thing is with the public service. Okay, there's Christian there. We'll go ahead and let Christian do what he do,
Okay.
and introduce yourself, Christian, and tell everybody who you are and why you're running.
Hey, everybody. Thank you guys again for the opportunity to be with you. Forgive me if you hear any noise. I'm in the car with the kids. We're out campaigning. But I'm running for Attorney General. I need to pull out of the way. Sorry. I'm running for Attorney General because the criminal justice system is very personal to me. I grew up seeing my mom get arrested several times. As a kid, I was with my grandmother and saw her get arrested in front of me. I have an uncle serving a life sentence for murder. There's so many of my family members and friends I saw go through the justice system. But things got so bad that my mom lost custody of me. I got kicked out of school. I was selling stolen clothes out of the trunk of my car to survive and pay rent and bills. But I was one of those kids that heard dead or in jail before 21 my entire life growing up. And I thought I was headed there. Fortunately, I became the first in my family to graduate from college. Got a master's degree after that and then went to law school. Excuse me, and oddly enough, I became a prosecutor. In my first year, I get a 17-year-old kid arrested for drugs. It's like I'm looking in a mirror of myself at that age. And I remember asking that kid where he saw himself in 10 years. He said he wanted to play in the NFL. And I told him, like so many other kids who came to the courtroom with drug charges, if you get convicted of a drug charge, you can't get federal money for college. If you're in college and you get convicted of drugs, they take your FAFSA away. So I created a diversion program for him. He completed it. I dismissed the case. The following year, his mom emailed me and said, "Hey, thank you for giving my son a chance. He's at a junior college in Oklahoma doing good in the classroom and great on the football field." 2015, she called and said, "Hey, he transferred to the University of Tennessee. Thank you for giving my son a chance." In 16, she called and said, "Man, you got to come to a game. You have to come and experience this with us. You are a big reason as to why he's here." So my kids and I went to a game that year. In 17, I went to 3 of his games. But most significantly, I went to his graduation in the spring of 2018. I actually got in trouble when that happened, though. I was told that as prosecutors, we are not social services and we are not counselors, that our job is to get convictions and to bring money in the pool. So I knew at that moment I wanted to run for office one day to try to change what the justice system operates like and what it means to come through the system so that we don't keep seeing people on this hamster wheel of recidivism. I know last time I spoke a long time in my intro. I'm going to wrap it up here and just say that I'm the youngest candidate in this race, the only black candidate in this race, the first black candidate for AG in the state of Georgia since we had Thurber Baker there back in 97. I will only be the 12th black AG in U.S. history once I'm elected. I'm the only AG in Georgia that's ever served as a prosecutor first. I'm also the most educated candidate in this race. I have a bachelor's, master's, and a law degree. So I'm asking everybody to be bold if you want to see bold changes. I'm the candidate that will bring that for us, and I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to be on your show again. And thank you. I will be here. I'm going to turn the camera off while I'm driving, but, when you're ready for me to speak more, I'll make sure I can pull over somewhere where I can talk, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Julius, it's your show right now.
All the candidates are out trying to lobby for those last days of votes from our voters. And we're hoping that enough people will see this, because this will be played over and over up until the election so that they can make some informed decisions. And we understand it, everybody loves a story. And it seems like all of you have a reason why you're running. And we understand that, and we see that there's no no compassion on the other side for anybody below them, the Republicans. And we try not to bring party into a whole lot of what we communicate to our audience, so they can make an informed decision. But our energy bills are going up every day, every day. Medicaid, when you're talking for Michelle, is a problem. And what makes you the best candidate for this job right now? You can go first, Michelle.
Thank you, Julius. The reason I am the best candidate for the 1st Congressional District is because I have the most experience at the federal level. I have 28 and a half years as a military officer in the federal system. Not only that, but I have a master's in strategic studies. So this specifically is preparing people for national security. And so as your congressperson, you are actually voting on what happens from a national security perspective. I'm the only one who has that criteria. The other thing is as a healthcare provider, I don't see Buddy Carter doing the job that he needs to do to change healthcare in the last many years, because prior to being the congressperson, he was in the state senate. And so these issues for healthcare have not changed under his watch. No one else is a healthcare provider. I am a midwife. I know what we need to do to change Medicaid. One of the issues is Medicaid in this state is at 217% of the federal poverty level. We are one of the highest states to even qualify for Medicaid. We have got to change that. The other thing, specifically in Georgia, there are 1.3 million people without health insurance, but 800,000 of them are working. Let me say that again. 800,000 of them are working, but they cannot afford to pay for healthcare insurance. You want change in Georgia? You want a healthy Georgia? You need to vote for somebody who's going to make that change. And I have the qualifications. As a military officer, we move every 2 to 3 years. The term of this job is a 2-year elected term. I know how to make change and make it quick. I have the experience that's needed for this district, and you need to vote for Dr. Michelle Munroe. Thank you.
Okay. Uh, Sandra, since you up top there, you can go next and tell us why you're more fit than your Republican candidate opponent.
Thank you, Julius. I'll really start with something you spoke to, and that is the stories of candidates, and that is lived experience. One thing that we know in environmental justice and community work is that the people closest to the problem are the people that have the best solutions. And what we have been subjected to is a commission that has only been concerned with protecting the utility monopoly and not listening to Georgians. I am the best candidate at this time for Georgia because I understand how important it is to make space for the voice and the lived experiences of the people who feel the actual impacts of commission decisions. I have created coalitions across Georgia, across the South, worked in coalition across nations, across the nation. I have worked specifically to bring people from other parts of the state, right, which is a big barrier to participation in these processes, from Savannah, from Middle Georgia and Fort Valley, from South Georgia, bust up to Atlanta, to 244 Washington Street in downtown Atlanta, where the Public Service Commission is making decisions that is increasing our bills, harming our health, and protecting the utility monopoly. And so having someone like me on the commission will ensure that we are finally having a commission whose consideration for decisions and whose ultimate decisions are authentically considering and accounting for the very real material impacts of these decisions on Georgians, our homeowners, our renters, our small business owners. And that is why I am the best candidate at this time. We have to have a shift on this commission. The energy system is changing. We are having a fundamental shift in this decision making and in this system, and it has to center the voice and the experiences of the people.
All right. Patty, you're up next.
Sure, right. So the incumbent in my case has been on the commission for 12 years. Each commissioner has a 6-year term, and he has had 2 terms and is hoping to have a third 6-year term. And he's already been a disaster for Georgia with his 2 12-year terms. So I would be far and away better than him. Really, anybody would be better than him. You could put a rock in his seat and it would be better than him, because he's never seen a rate increase he didn't love. He made sure Plant Vogtle continued when it was at a go, no go decision point in 2017, when Westinghouse, the contractor and designer for the nuclear reactors, the AP1000s, when Westinghouse went bankrupt, there was a go, no go decision that the commission made. And Tim Echols was the ringleader on continuing that project. And despite no support for continuing that project from anybody, except for the one company that makes money on it, and that's Georgia Power, even the Public Service Commission's own staff recommended against continuing the project, because analysis showed there were many, many other cheaper choices when it comes to meeting those energy needs and it comes to clean energy. Cheaper and better and faster choices than Plant Vogtle was. But my opponent, Tim Echols, led the charge to continue Plant Vogtle and also put no cost caps on the project. I mean, who gets to build a construction project with no cost caps? I would love that if I was building a home. But he didn't put any cost caps on it, and he didn't put any consumer protections in the project. So that was the perfect time to negotiate with Georgia Power. Okay, if you want to continue this project, we're going to continue this project, but you have to be held to account for the budget that you're giving. If you're saying it's X billions and it exceeds X billions, then that's on you. Your shareholders pay it, you pay it out of your profits. At that point, they would have said yes, because to say no would have canceled that project. But he didn't say that. And so as a result, every day this project is late, it's a profit stream for Georgia Power. So lo and behold, we have the project years late, and there's so much profit going to Georgia Power. Here's one story that's hair-raising. At the end of 2019, there was the $2 billion rate case that Chandra mentioned. This followed the heels of the 2017 Plant Vogtle Go decision. The board of directors for Southern Company was so pleased with Georgia's Public Service Commission decisions and the quote unquote constructive relationship that they like to claim that they have, but actually just means rubber stamp. The board was so pleased with those 2 hearings that went their way that they gave Tom Fanning, the Southern Company chief executive officer, the highest compensation for any utility executive in the United States at $28 million in 2019. And I'm not making this up. The reasons they gave him for that record compensation are in the Southern Company's annual report. That's how I know. And it was also in the Atlanta Business Chronicle article that I saw on the factor that he made so much, which made the news because it was newsworthy. And that's disgusting. That should not happen in a state where we struggle with energy poverty, with energy affordability, where tens of thousands of people are getting disconnected every month from power because they cannot afford to pay their high power bills. And just to put a nail in that coffin, not only did he make more than any other utility CEO in 2019 in the entire country, he out-earned any of Georgia's Fortune 500 companies, of which we have many. And keep in mind, those Fortune 500 companies have to compete in a competitive environment, which Georgia Power does not, and they compete globally. They're not one power company in one state. I'm talking UPS, Delta. I'm talking Equifax, Home Depot. I'm talking Aflac and Coke. All of those are global Fortune 500s in Georgia that we're fortunate to have. Tom Fanning out-earned all of them as well. That's just a real clear picture for your listeners to understand that there's a problem with the Public Service Commission. And the reason I would be better than a rock, because a rock would be better than Tim Echols, is that I have an energy background and I know what's going on, and I plan to expose his record. And I would also bring an ethic of accountability and public interest to my decisions. And so I like to say, Patty puts the public interest in the PSC, just so you can remember. A lot of alliteration, but the public interest is the reason the PSC exists. The monopoly utility has no competition. And so in exchange for a guaranteed rate of return and no competition and captive customers, it's a really sweet deal. And in exchange for that, they agree to be regulated and they agree to serve the public interest. And we're missing that last part. We're not having the public interest met by this commission and by my opponent in particular.
Okay. And Christian, if you'll pop back on, I know you're out campaigning, because this should be really interesting. If Christian, if you can hear me and pop back on.
There you go.
Because, and we want to know why you would be way better than, who's there now? Carr?
Chris Carr.
Yeah.
We won't, somebody, it's a rock. I agree with Patty, a rock is there.
So tell us why you want to replace Chris Carr, because
The Rock.
contrast yourself to what you'll do compared to what he's already doing. We know he has no type of statistical fortitude to challenge anything that's happening. So tell us why you would.
So I'll start with SB 202. When that came about, Chris Carr agrees with SB 202 and has done everything to defend SB 202.
And Christian, if I may, what is SB 202 for our viewers who don't know?
I'm sorry. So after the elections in 2020, that put President Biden and Vice President Harris in office, and also the two Senate seats we got with Senators Warnock and Ossoff, the state of Georgia and 48 other states enacted laws to make it harder to vote. So things like passing out water bottles in lines to vote, cutting down on early voting locations of drop boxes, things like that all came out of SB 202. And so the Department of Justice filed a suit on behalf of us in Georgia challenging that law as unconstitutional. Our current Attorney General, Chris Carr, has defended that law as being constitutional, as being good law. Well, fortunately for us here in Georgia, the New York Attorney General, the Black woman by the name of Letitia James, she filed what's called an amicus brief. That means a brief in support of the Department of Justice and their stance in saying that SB 202 is unconstitutional on behalf of us here in Georgia. And she got about 22 other AGs from different states to join in that collaborative with her. So that's one thing that I would say is very different between he and I, is that I do not agree with SB 202. I do agree that it's unconstitutional. I think that we need leaders in place who want to see not only voting, but reproductive rights, access to health care, clean air, clean energy. We need leaders in place who want to see those things protected. We need leaders in place who want to see our freedoms expanded upon and not infringed upon. So I'll give another example. Sorry, it's my 3-phone. After the Affordable Health Care Act was passed by the Obama administration, our current Attorney General has been fighting tooth and nail to get rid of the Affordable Health Care Act. And so when you go across our state, there's so many people in Georgia who need access to affordable health care. We need to also expand Medicare and Medicaid, but that's another topic for another day. But once I take office, I'm going to make sure that we do everything we can to keep the Affordable Health Care Act in place and undo some of the things that Chris Carr and the Republicans have been doing to try to get rid of that. I think the biggest thing that separates me from him is that he is a party line driven attorney general. Everything he does is in favor of the Republican Party and it advances their agenda, which only matters to Republicans. I believe the attorney general should have the best interest of all Georgians in mind. You know, when you talk about things like crime, if somebody's going to rob you, they don't care if you're black or you're white. They don't care if you're rich or you're poor, if you're gay or you're straight, if you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. So we need leaders in office who understand that we need to protect all of us. When it comes to healthcare, again, it doesn't matter if you're black or you're white, if you're Republican or Democrat. If you get sick, you want to know that you have the access to go get the treatment that you need. So our mentality and our approach is very, very different. He is someone who only cares about a small group or population in Georgia. I'm someone who cares about all of us. I want to see all of us thrive. You know, just like myself, I know everyone on this call, everyone listening, everyone throughout the state, if you have kids, if you have a family, you want them to be safe. If you have loved ones who need medical treatment, you want them to be able to get it. We are about to have an election on May 24th. You want to be able to go vote and not have to wait all day. You want to make sure that you are not left off of any poll, any registration polls when you go vote. So all the things that the Attorney General can do is what I want to bring to that office in a way that we've never seen before, where we value everybody in Georgia. No matter your zip code, no matter your background, no matter your race, your sexuality, your religion, or your income, is what I want to bring to the table. That's what we have not seen from our current Attorney General, Chris Carr, but you will see that from the new Attorney General, Christian Watts. Thank you guys for that question.
Okay. You know, I had a bunch of people text me after the show last week and said, make sure you get that guy back on. So I guess everybody has a story, like I was saying earlier, and your story resonates with a lot of people, especially people of our viewers. So keep telling it and keep pushing, because we didn't know anything about you until now, and so we're trying to get the message out. And we got people like Patty and Sandra who are trying to make sure that we change things. It's a different type of elected official that we're trying to put in place that cares about the people, cares about not just a number, but cares what happens to a person, And so we appreciate all of y'all. Robert, you got questions for him?
So yes, we'll do this go around to make sure that we are giving our viewers and voters a little more insight as we'll present a question just for each individual. And so we won't present the same question to all of y'all. So if we could start with you, Christian, because I know you're driving. If you could share your thoughts on basically what would be your main priority when elected Attorney General?
So my main priority is criminal justice reform. I mentioned earlier we've never had an Attorney General who served as a prosecutor first, and I think that's why we've seen crime rates continue to rise throughout the years in Georgia, because we've never had an Attorney General who understands how to address it, and they tend to address the big money things instead of what keeps us all safe. So during the first 100 days in office, we're going to build a community outreach division, which has never existed before in the AG's office. And that will serve a few purposes. One, we need to start building bridges and positive relationships between law enforcement community and Black and brown communities. That relationship has always been negative. That relationship has always been one of distrust. And so by having community forums, by being visible and accessible in ways other than just reactionary and confrontational is what we'll start to do. We're also going to create a summer internship program for high school students throughout the state that will help give our kids, one, again, more positive interactions with folks in the law enforcement community, but two, help give them things to do in the summertime so we don't start to see that tick, I guess, that uptick in crime that we typically see in summer when kids are out of school. The second thing we're going to do, again, is very bold. I make very clear statements on where I am. I was taught that, it's black or white, left or right, yes, no. If you're driving, you can't turn maybe. You have to turn left or right. And so the death penalty, all death penalty cases get appealed to the Attorney General's office. Once I take office, we are no longer going to seek the death penalty on any case. It's been proven to be racially biased. It's been proven to be very costly. And states have gotten it wrong before. And that's something that you cannot get wrong. And most death row inmates across the country are all black and brown. I believe that life without parole is punishment enough for any crime. And so that will be one of the boldest things that we come in and do during our first 100 days is reverse the officer's position on the death penalty. And lastly, I will give this in terms of the criminal justice reform space. I'm sorry. I'm on a Zoom. I'm about to pull up in 1 second. I'm sorry. I appreciate you. Sorry. What was I going? Last point. Reshifting our priorities and our resources away from low-level, non-violent offenses. Things like mental health calls or substance abuse addiction or homelessness. We see a lot of homeless people get thrown in jail for sleeping outside of businesses. So if we start to partner with community resource providers in those spaces, one, it will help law enforcement departments not be stretched so thin, but two, it will help us use the dollars that we already have to put more manpower, more energy and focus on the more violent and serious crimes that, really threaten our safety. So my main priority, again, to answer your question, is really driving home on criminal justice reform, driving crime rates down so that we can start to see, employment rates go up, property values go up, see our school system ratings go up. Crime rates impact all of those things. So, we've never had an attorney general before who come in and tell you how, crime impacts our pockets. And so we can accomplish all of those things if you are a business owner, if you are a property owner. We can start driving your property values up. That's putting more money in your pocket. If we're able to be safer, if you can bring more people to your business because you don't have to worry about safety, let's put more money in your pocket. So I want to impact our economy in a way that we've never seen before by really doing right by folks across the state with how we handle our justice system. So thank you for that question.
Awesome. So, Patty, if you could share one of my priorities, and I hope definitely with you and Chandra, was the cancer-causing, deliberate, price gouging, terrible catastrophe called Plant Vogel. That's in the back of a minority community that's killing Black folks every day. If you could share more about what that is and what you would do to address that major issue that this current Public Service Commission has ignored.
So you were breaking up a little.
You're freezing, Patty.
Could you repeat the question?
So basically, if you could share your thoughts on Plant Vogel and how you would address that catastrophe when elected.
Okay. Right.
I think you're freezing up as well.
So one is that there right now on our bills is an NCCR tariff or a nuclear cost construction recovery tariff.
I think
the first thing that needs to happen is to be, and we need to be. Am I still breaking up?
Yes, if you have a Wi-Fi button, if you can, yeah.
Oh, I normally have really good connection, so I don't know what's going on.
Hey, you know they control broadband too, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, maybe it's not.
Tim Eccles is after you, so hey.
Maybe it's not a coincidence. I was going to say, first off, the NCCR tariff needs to be repealed because right now we're paying 10 to 12% on our bills for the early construction costs of Plant Vogel. And second, how's the connection now? Okay, good, better. And second, the big thing comes in 2023 when be done. And the big thing coming is how much Georgia Power is going to pay for cost overruns versus how much we will pay for the cost overruns. And it's called necessary and prudent cost. It's a special proceeding where the commission will review all of the expenses of the plant, and then they will make a decision about what was necessary and what was prudent versus what was not. Well, as commissioner, none of the cost overruns were necessary and prudent. That would be my position, because that's their job to budget appropriately. Unless they can account for the reasons, then those costs need to be paid by Georgia Power out of their profits. So that would be two things I would do. And there are some other bigger lifts that I want to do. Number one, I think we need to reinstate the Consumer Utility Council, which is the agency that was separate from the PSC that negotiated with Georgia Power on behalf of the public interest. Right now, there's no lobbyist or anyone protecting the public at the commission. There are PIA staff, as they're called, or public interest advisory staff, that the governor's office, when they defunded the CUC, they decided that they would just pay for staff on site. But that's not, clearly those staff have not been able to protect the public interest, because all I have to do is look at Plant Vogel and see that the public has not been protected. And then the last thing I would do that's a little bit of a bigger lift than the first two is that I think the Georgia legislature needs to commission an investigation into what happened. Why is Georgia building the most expensive power plant ever built on earth? Why is the commission not protecting communities of color that are living near that plant? The other testing violations, which we don't even know what some of the tests are done on site there because they're hidden. They're not on the EPD's website. There's no report that we can get. The state of Georgia stopped testing for Plant Vogel. For those of you that don't know, there are already 2 nuclear reactors there in Waynesboro, Georgia, that were built, I think in the 90s. I can't remember those years. I don't know if you remember, Robert, but a while ago. And so that testing was ongoing for a long time. It showed problems that were addressed. And then the state decided, oh, we're not going to do this testing anymore. And now there's testing done in South Carolina across the river, but none here. And we don't know. So those are the areas I would work with the state legislature on testing and an investigation. I would repeal the rider on our bills, and I would make sure the costs that exceed their budgets get paid by the shareholders and not the ratepayers, not us customers. There's a lot that can be done.
Okay. All right, Julius, I guess we've heard from all the candidates. If you have any final questions or any thoughts, we can let them do their final pitch.
I was muted. Well, I don't have any other questions. I just want to make sure that they, except for Christian, how many people are in that race with you, Christian?
So in the primary, I have one opponent. So it's myself and one other person. And I'm not going to say their names because I want y'all to vote for me, Christian Wise. But
right.
That's correct.
Mr. Hall, Dr. Bryant, I appreciate y'all for giving me this opportunity. To be on here for the second time now. Thank you guys for showing love and helping me try to get the word out. We have the opportunity right now to do something really, really significant in Georgia that hasn't been done. We've never had an attorney general like me. We've never seen the changes that we want to bring to the table. So thank you guys for trying to help me make it happen. I appreciate you.
All right. All right. And wait a minute, before you leave, tell everybody how to get in touch with you. And Patty, you do the same after Christian. And then we know everybody is out campaigning and making and getting these last days in. So make sure you tell everybody how to contact you and vote for you. You're muted.
Sorry. The website is wisesmith4ga.com, WISESMITH, the number 4ga.com. Instagram is at Christian Wise Smith. Twitter is at Chris Wise Smith. Facebook is at Christian Wise Smith. And I hope to see you guys soon. I know we only have 10 days left before the election day on the 24th. We're going to be zigzagging across the state. I'll be down in Savannah one more time. And, I'll come see you guys in person when I'm down there. Appreciate you guys.
All right, Patty, if you would share the same information, and we appreciate you all for joining us today. We've got a part 2, but Patty, if you would as well.
Sure. So you can reach me by going to my website, pattyforpsc.com. And I want to give your viewers a little mnemonic so they can help remember who to vote for when it comes to my race and Chandra's race. If you would just remember to vote politically correctly, PC for Patty and C for Chandra. That way you can remember, because there's 2 other women in Chandra's race, so you won't be able to remember just to vote for the women. You'll have to remember PC or just memorize Patty Chandra. So I thought that might help.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Patty. We wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we will be seeing you more as we get to the finish line in November.
Absolutely.
When we have 2 Democratic elected public service commissioners.
Yes, that would be very great. It would be very good for the people of Georgia. And just one more note, if people wonder, well, how will we get anything done if we're not the majority? In my case, my opponent is the ringleader, so defeating him would change everything in terms of dynamics at the commission. So, and in Chandra's case, she would replace a man who's basically a stooge. He knows nothing about energy and has never lived in the district that he moved to take this seat. And both
sounds like a familiar person, another familiar person.
Yeah, my incumbent and her incumbent both really need to be defeated. So we appreciate and ask for your audience to help us do that.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you both. We're going to shift to a different conversation to our audience. And Patty and Christian, we'll see you next time. We have another conversation we want to begin. But Julius, before we bring on this beautiful guest, after the election, I think we should do a show to talk about the wins and the losses and the other pieces around that. What strikes me interesting right here in Chatham County is we have candidates who are allegedly for the people but won't appear on the show. And so we're going to talk a lot about that after the election, because one thing I will say is this. When you're not willing to speak to the people, when you're not willing to speak to the Black community, that says a lot to me, at least. And so we're going to bring that up. And if your name gets called, hey, that was on you. But Alderwoman Gibson Carter, we're glad to have you as always. Julius, if you could tee that up for us, and let's dive in.
Okay. Yesterday's city council meeting had a few little highlights, and we're going to let the esteemed Alderwoman tell us what happened and let her give her side of the story, because we know the news is not going to report anything accurately to us. If you're not watching, you need to start paying attention to these council meetings. We got a king over there. We got a king in
We got
city.
a rock. It's a rock.
And,
he's not a king, he's a rock.
A flat rock. So Alderwoman Gibson Carter, please give us the story. You mute.
Hello, Savannah.
Hello, ATR. Hello, Watchdogs. Thank you so much for having me on this afternoon. I am leaving Forsyth Park, where I attended a women's reproductive rights rally, and we were proud and privileged to have the opportunity to support them. There is nothing more important than women's reproductive health, and I shared with the women in the park and the men who support them that there is not one law on the books that dictate health for men. But we so easily, time and time again, year after year, institute and put forth these mandates as it relates to our ovaries, our womb, and our uterus. And so I had to get that in because I am the older woman for all people all the time. So listen, guys, I want to say in response to the news account that of all of the nearly 40 items we had on this week's agenda, it is not my interest to engage or talk about the sensational lack of interpersonal relationships on council. Because as far as I'm concerned and from where I'm sitting, that serves as a smokescreen to take people's focus off of the most pressing issues that we face in our city right now. And that is the fact that we are in a public health crisis where gun violence and crime is concerned. Babies are falling dead to gun violence like insects here in Savannah. And we have done nothing as a council, as an administration to respond to it, to include this last meeting where we had an opportunity to go into an executive session and discuss one of the contributing factors to where we are with crime in our community, and that's the personnel in our police department. And we didn't have one item on the agenda among the millions of dollars that was passed that would respond to the communities where this violence is running rampant. And so the item of the purchase of an SUV for the city manager, I understand that he's hiring a new aide of sorts to join the ranks of his staff, and that vehicle essentially would be used to sort of chauffeur or cart him around, I imagine, to city functions and to handle city business of sorts. And
This
so
is the same city manager that makes over $100,000.
No, this is the same city manager who makes over $200,000. And so, to that point, Mr. Bryant, I also know that this city manager has a car stipend, and he has other incentives to include benefits and an expense account where we take care of him very well. And so my question, and understand, as the alderwoman for the city of Savannah, it is my right to ask questions of any item on the agenda. But more to the point, it is my responsibility. It is my responsibility as a representative of taxpayer dollars to make sure that the purchases we are making are fiscally prudent and prioritized and necessary. We are in no position to spend money on things that we don't need. Let me say that again. We are in no position to spend money we do not have on things we do not need. If it is the expectation for families to conduct themselves on a budget, it is more of an expectation of the city to conduct herself on a budget and to stick to it. And so, time after time again, I am seeing wasteful spending on item after item after item. And so, where this item was concerned, I simply asked the question: as a result of this vehicle purchase. Now, the other thing with the vehicle purchase, recognize that we, over the last 2 years, have purchased hundreds of fleets of vehicles. In addition, I would imagine that we have a surplus of vehicles within our inventory. But here on this agenda is an item for this brand new vehicle, and I simply wanted to know, was this consistent with the policy that the city of Savannah has that says if you have a city vehicle, you do not receive a city stipend? It's either or. If you are going to drive a city vehicle, you do not receive a city stipend. If you forego the city stipend, you can, in effect, have a city issued vehicle.
And remind the people of what your salary is as a councilwoman.
My salary is $25,000, but I signed up for it. I knew what my salary was.
No, but I just want the people to see how foolish this how you're being disregarded.
Well, and again, I don't want to make this about me. This is about
right.
But so what I want to add to this point is, I simply was asking the question to recognize: is it a policy or is it a practice? Because if we are going to go down the road of now making purchases on practice, we have a problem. But if he told me that this purchase was consistent with the policy, which is to forego the stipend if you have a city issued vehicle, and when he said no, that his stipend was not going to go away, so I'm familiar with the practice that the mayor recently engaged in, where he not only has his own personal vehicle where he receives a city stipend, but he also has a city vehicle that he uses with a personal driver who is actually a sworn police officer. Amidst us being 100 police officers down, the best use of that personnel, of that individual, our leadership and management and police chief sees, is to have him chauffeur the mayor around, as well as fetch his breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There is no other mayor in the history of mayors in Savannah who has utilized city resources to that extent. And so if these individuals will continue with these practices and these behaviors, there is nothing that would preclude me as a sitting alderperson, when the item is on the agenda, to ask legitimate questions. Furthermore, in my line of questioning, I was interrupted with a point of order. Robert's Rule of Order gives them that privilege. You can call point of order if a person who has the floor is expounding on something where it is not germane to the topic or the issue. Well, if a person calls point of order, the subsequent behavior or action should be to explain your point. What is your point? Why are you interrupting me? To this date, no one has acknowledged their point. I had 4 people almost in unison call point of order to my line of questioning of the city manager. I simply asked Mayor Johnson to have first Nick Palumbo explain his point. Nick Palumbo, Curtis Purdy, Linda Wilder Bryant, and Van Johnson refused to explain why they called point of order. He further went on to say he did not have to. I deferred to the clerk and the city manager, the clerk and the city attorney to weigh in on this issue, this matter. Mr. City Attorney, Mr. Clerk, what is your position? Please make a ruling on who has the floor right now. More conversation ensued. Curtis Purdy said something else to me, and I asked him what was his point. He responded and said his point or his problem was me. And that is the consistent theme. They have a problem with me, my person, my arrival, my language, my word choice. If I said I support oxygen, they would all stop breathing. If you go back and watch our meetings and pay attention, I am consistently and constantly interrupted when I'm making a point or offering discussion to an item. There has never been a time where when they are making a point or offering discussion where I called point of order or deliberately interrupted them. And this time, I simply wanted them to explain why they were doing what they were doing. And so I said to the WSAV reporter, once again, we're so grateful for platforms like ATR because you give us the opportunity to set the record straight. But more importantly, you all are always on the front side of getting this right the first time. And in talking to this gentleman with WSAV, Mr. Chase, I can't think of his first name now, but I just simply said to him, sir, what was it about your news story that was consistent with the fact that for some reason they did a dictation of what was going on verbatim in the meeting? But he left the part out where Curtis Purdy says to me, he had a problem, that I was the problem. He left that part out. Then in the news story, it says that Curtis Purdy said that he had to get between me and Van Johnson. And that never happened. I said, sir, did you see a recording of that? Did you see it yourself? But he only went on what Curtis Purdy said. And so it's the consistent theme of how these individuals align themselves with council members who are motivated to be messy. They have the power of the media. They have the media's ear in their platform to spew all of this foolishness that continues to ensue. So in short order, they can't even be original in their playbook. What will happen is they'll come back because Curtis Purdy attempted to offer a recommendation that I be removed from chambers. Why?
He's a wimp. He's a
Why?
coward.
You know, and
Such a
there's
coward.
been several times where other members of council who are a part of the majority just go all in and say all manner of things. Linda Wilder Bryant, to be exact, but they never ever challenge her in this manner. And so they'll come back with something. They have the majority of the vote on council. It's, I signed up for this job recognizing the likelihood that there would be public ridicule and harsh judgment, and that I would not be able to please everyone. But I did not imagine having to walk into the level of adolescent behavior that's just so minute, so destructive. And it just serves as just another one of those gaslighting pieces. Like, they use this as an opportunity to pass the last 4 items on the agenda that they knew people had questions and wouldn't vote for. But Van Johnson, being the master manipulator that he is, he was able to pass those items in full sweep. So I'll take it. I signed up for it. We'll take it.
And if I may, Julius, I want the viewers to go, and I want you to ask your neighbors, what has this mayor done for your community lately? I want the people of the West Side, my people in District 5 in particular, and District 1, what has he done for your community lately? Since that mayor has been your alderman, District 1, what has he done for you? Your streets look the same. The trees are still overhung. Julius, you took a picture. Streets have trees overhung. Streets aren't paved. Houses dilapidated. But you know what he's going to do? He's going to let Kessler come sweep them right on up. So we got to change mayors. And I said it, I'm still Alicia's, because I am sick and tired of us not doing anything for us. And I'm not saying, like, people complain about Barack Obama. I'm not saying you got to do everything for our people. But we have systematically been driven away from our communities. Let's go back to Frogtown, 10 City. You'll hear Teray talk about it. You hear my own daddy talk about it. We've been driven out of our communities, and now they want to come take our communities, give them the Skag, give them the Kessler. I'm so frustrated that you have a majority on council, but you would rather bow down to the knee, put your knees on the ground for some green money to sell out your own people. That's the part I'm sick about. And to hear that you would then dog out your own sisters, our black sisters, makes you even worse of a coward. And he's just a rock to me. Julie, what's your thoughts?
He's a rock, and we're axe, and sometimes that axe can bust that rock. Because what is going on in the papers, everybody are in this together. They're all in this together. You can see the news coverage. Anything that they're doing. Linda Wilder Bryant was giving away some socks, and they gave her all this press coverage. You see Buddy Carter now, every time there's an election, he's on TV every day. See, the media is complicit.
What about Jay Jones thing?
All this here.
Got Jay up in there.
We don't get anything. We don't get anything, any type of coverage. These ladies were there the other day at a rally for a 15-year-old getting shot.
A baby.
They never interviewed them. You know, they don't get any coverage because they don't want nobody to see them. They don't want anybody to hear them. So, you know, we have to be able to on this platform, we're going to tell the truth. We're going to tell those things that are a detriment to our community, and we're going to put them out front and show what needs to be done, because they're fighting on our behalf. You don't fight somebody who's fighting for you. You know, and I don't understand these bougie black people in Savannah.
It ain't about bougie. It's about they getting their pockets lined. It's bottom line.
If no, a lot of them ain't getting their pockets lined.
Bang in his pockets line. Bang in his pockets line. He's the ring leader. And Palumbo and Shorty ain't got enough sense to do nothing to think beyond what they can see. Linda ain't got no sense, and Dietrich just sold out Yamacraw. So I said it. None of them got enough nuts to stand up other than these three. They got bigger nuts than Van.
That is absolutely correct.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Go back and see Jamal Bryant talked about sugarcoat stuff, and I know a lot of men, but I'm going to tell you something that burns me up. Excuse me, all the women. What burns me up, and especially with Dietrich, you sat down there and you lied to them damn people at Yamacraw. These people are low income, and then you're going to sit there and sit in Kessler's lap, and you think I'm okay with it? No, I don't even live in that community, but I can tell you this. People love to quote scripture, but the one thing I tell you, and I keep saying this, the least of those. Serve the least of those. I may not be in that position, but I can tell you one thing. My daddy used to go to school with no shoes on. I'll never forget the stories he told me. So the moment you sell my people, at the moment we become enemies.
All the woman.
She come back here. But seriously, this is to participate in a system that systematically disenfranchises your people. It's just sick to me. It's a sickness. And I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. Some people don't like the way words I use. That's not my problem. A moral medical center over there, go get you some mental health. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it.
All the woman.
I'm sorry about that.
No.
I was a little bit tickled, Mr. Bryant. I just wanted to tell you that I have a peanut allergy.
Hey.
I just came from a rally talking about ovaries and uterus.
Well, bigger ovaries
and wombs. I thought I could add that.
We can have a little humor here.
Again, I get it, and one of the things I'm so proud of is this platform and having you all devote your time and resources for no personal gain and no reason of your own. I know, Julius, you use so much of your own resources to keep this going. But for me, I want people to know that it doesn't feel as bad as it looks. I have folks all the time calling me, asking me, am I okay, offering sentiments with regard to how I'm being treated on council, what's fair and unfair. Just know that I signed up for this. I appreciate those sentiments. It's certainly encouraging as you live in a world of judgment and ridicule, sometimes unfair. I want us to keep our focus on the main thing. And the main thing, the main point, and I said this to the journalist who I had to call on his unbalanced and unfair reporting. First, you release a news story and you include everyone but the person who is the subject of the news story, me. and the reporters in their news report and say she did not respond for comment. Well, you called my office phone 5 minutes before 5 on a Friday. And there are people at that station who I know very well who have my personal phone number. And so if you really wanted to get me, you could have called my personal cell like almost everybody in Savannah does. And I'm not going to mention the opportunities via social media to connect with someone. So there was never an intent for me to offer or to refute what was reported. Secondly, I called him on, of all of the things on the agenda and of all of the items, the item in question actually was the lowest of them that I had an issue with and that I challenged. I first challenged the nearly $1 million contract modification request to the tune of nearly $870,000 for the Bryant Street beautification project. I also was going to question the loan to this quasi housing agency to the tune of over $500,000. And so again, I say to the journalist, why was it your interest to focus on the minutia? Why was it more of your focus on the interpersonal behavior than the actual mismanagement and inappropriate spending? That's what's most important to the public. So again, these issues, when the media is simply providing cover for the establishment and not coverage of the issues, you do a disservice to this community, because now you handicap them and you put them at a disadvantage when it comes to holding their public officials accountable. We should be responsive to the people where our spending is concerned. So when I go to the city manager and I ask for porta-johns for the little league team that's playing out at Bowes Ford Park, and the little boys are having to go to the bathroom in the woods, and I ask for porta-johns and you don't respond, and they still don't have porta-johns, and it's going on 2 weeks, but you have a $39,000 SUV on the agenda. When I ask for proceeds to be dedicated to our LGBTQ community center because they were without a director during the competitive grant process, and they're now at a deficit where services are concerned, and you tell me that it wasn't budgeted for and you can't provide that allocation, but you have a $39,000 SUV that you don't need and that we didn't budget for? No, we can't do that. And I can't make any apologies. And so if I open my mouth, and it doesn't matter what measure I open my mouth or what octave I'm in, it's always going to paint me as this crazy, unhinged, deranged woman.
Well, and you don't have to apologize for that. Let me break something down. I was just thinking about when I was I had to take a moment to go help Dad, but I want us to go back to this same administrative police department, whatever we want to call it, where they're talking about an elderly man hung himself with a shoestring. Then we shifted to this major crime issue. Then you're telling me a young baby girl, a 15-year-old, is killed. And by the way, and this is allegedly, so there were some other factors involved with it. I won't say what those other factors are, but there is a consistent failure for our community to be regarded as important. And I am so up in roar because our community, our people continue to be lied to, continue to be disregarded, continue to be left out of the conversation with the resources, continue to be put on the menu and not at the table. And when you have three women who are just trying to raise a voice, trying to raise an issue, just to want to share an idea, they're silenced. It's a shame that more of us are not in uproar. And that's why I'm upset. It's sad to see that segregation has a different look. And for those who may not agree with me, that's fine, but that's the way I see it. And I think we got to do a better job. And to know that we have a majority, and our majority is still segregating and participating in that segregation and silencing people, is disappointing.
Yes, it is. It really is. And, you know, and it should rally the people to see what is happening there. We're going to be giving out the information. So all I can tell you is this: stay tuned here, because we're going to give out the right information. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're not going to hide anything. There needs to be some type of fairness given allotted to these people who are fighting for the people. They're fighting for us every day, and then they're being shut down. So in the next few months, y'all will see us give it to you real. We're gonna keep it 100 here because we don't know any other way. If they weren't fighting, they wouldn't be on this platform. So one thing we do know, every day they go to work fighting. I know 4 people in this whole community that does that every day. 4 that I know every day when they elected officials, when they go to work, they go to work. And all 4 of them just happen to be women.
And if I may, Julius, let me go back to the comment I made about what the salary of council. If you look at any city our size, right? Let me break this down. Give me a minute. To make $25,000 on council is ridiculous. Our council needs to be making $60,000 or more. When you got a city manager making a month $200,000 and get a car, I'm sorry.
2 cars.
You lucky you getting that, because if I was sitting down there, you might be getting $50,000. But anyway, no, this council needs to be, every council member in the city of Savannah should be making $60,000 or more, and that's minimum. But you got a whole city manager making that kind of money, you should have told me, I would have applied. But in all seriousness, we've got to start looking at these people. This is our tax money. These are people that are supposed to be working on our behalf, our advocates, who are being silenced by people who have no clue what they're doing.
Yeah. And not
from
here. And none of them from here.
Not even from here.
Yeah. The city manager, the city attorney, neither one of them from here. So, and the mayor, none of them from here.
I ain't talking about the chief because I might get arrested. So
and the chief. You keep going down the line. None of these people are from here. So they don't really care. Yeah, so Alderwoman, we appreciate you coming out and giving us your thoughts and setting the record straight, because in the next few months, we're going to be asking you to really tell us the direction of your platform, where you're going at with it, what you want to do, the changes you want to make, and how the people can help you and how they can get behind you. So be ready and be prepared for that, please, because I really want you to be there.
Alvin, you're right. People that know me know, hey, I can turn on, I can turn off, but one thing you don't want to do is I'm an Aries, I'm a full-blooded Aries. Let that guide your thoughts some miles.
So Alderwoman, any last thoughts?
I just want to thank you all again for the platform and the opportunity to say it here first. You heard it here on ATR. It's not just about my side. I tell people oftentimes there are 3 sides to every story. Their side, your side, and somewhere in the middle, there's the truth, right? And so we want you to know that I am always on the side of the people and flying as close to transparency, authenticity, and ethics as I can. It's what I've demonstrated for over 2 decades in my career in this city. And I did it with a stellar record of performance. And why people think that I decided to come to City Hall and lose my mind is beyond me. But I can't compete with the level of trickery and manipulation. I can't compete with the amount of ink and paper owned by Savannah Morning News, and I can't compete with the airways of TOC, SAV, JCL, and Fox. The only thing I can rely on is my decades of time and commitment to the community and to the people who would really drill down and just pay attention and not be led by the media with their one-sided biased reporting. And I want to encourage citizens to plug in, listen, and hear for yourself. I'm always available to answer any questions. I stand to be corrected when necessary. If anyone wants to contact me and have a conversation about any actions that I have taken or those that I have not taken, we can talk about it for sure. We can talk about it. I'm here to make myself available to you. And just consider what we're dealing with. This mayor is a master at manipulation. He is right now the longest serving older person who currently is serving in the history of Savannah, now mayor. And if you look at the district he's district, and that's gaslight them to make them think that he's doing one thing when in fact he's not doing anything at all. And so when you look at the 1st district and the 5th district, and you look at our council is now populated by 2 members who led those districts, the 1st and the 5th. The 1st and the 5th district are 2 of the most vulnerable, most underserved, and unrepresented districts in the city of Savannah. Those 2 districts have higher poverty, higher crime, and higher amounts of forced displacement. And look at who's still standing on our council.
I didn't even think about it that way.
District people, y'all gotta wake up. We're grateful for those who have, and you don't have to be on our side, but you do have to stand for what's right and not for what's popular. And we should not relegate our personal freedoms and harmony in our communities. We should not relegate it to relationship, friendship, and kinship. We should not care about proximity to a person when it comes to those pressing issues facing our community.
You're right. And Julius, so I'm glad, Alderwoman, you brought that up. I did not even think about it like that. That makes me even hotter, but I'm going to end with this, Julius, and I'm not going to dive into my hotness. What I'm about to say, I want people to understand this. You've got to be able to separate the leadership from the individual. So I don't dislike the individual. I dislike their leadership, and I dislike their policy vehemently. But when you said that, I just thought about it. If for people not from Savannah, District 1 and District 5 are pretty much like this. It's where a good chunk of our Black community is. It's where a good chunk of projects that are seen around the city, we don't get that funding. We are ignored. We are systematically left out of the conversation. And so those districts, now that you said about it, both of those aldermen, alderwomen and aldermen have been on council for years. And to know that and to now put that in my mind makes both of y'all got to go home. I'll just leave it at that.
Question. Both
y'all got to go home.
Well, Alderwoman, we appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you later on. Sister Aura says, Sister, you got to take this fight to a higher level. I would love to work on your strategy team, which needs to start now. So you going to answer her?
We welcome everybody. Inbox me. They can contact you directly. We're happy that you have committed to be a member of the team. But I just want to say, again, this is, I don't have an interest in a career in politics. This is truly my intent to serve. And we do not intend to use these pieces for a campaign platform. I have legitimate issues that we will be addressing as it relates to my campaign. But I just want people to know that you have a choice. We have an opportunity to change Savannah for the better, or we can just go down this road where in 2 to 5 years, if something does not change in this city, Savannah, as we know her, will be a person of the past. There is a strategic and coordinated effort to force all marginalized, minority, and African American people and working class people of all hues out of this city. Savannah is on a trajectory to become as sanitized as Charleston and Hilton Head. And if we want to make a difference, if we want to be a part of preserving our community and preserving what we know and love about Savannah, her culture, her diversity, our blended community, we have to take a stand and take that stand very soon. Thank you all again for this time. I appreciate you all. I love you. And we'll see you on the other side. We live to fight another day.
All right. Appreciate
all right.
you.
Thank you now. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, Julius. So next Saturday, you get the closing thoughts today, I guess.
Well,
since I've been talking a lot.
We just want people to be engaged and pay attention. We had a symposium the other day with people for the crime situation here in Savannah. So we need to make sure that we are vigilant and participating in all of these activities. Okay. So that's my closing thoughts. We just need to pay attention to what's going on, and we should not watch news that's going to give you only one side of the story, or a newspaper that's going to print only what they want you to hear. So, or what they want you to read. So let's pay attention, people.
All right. So next Saturday, same time, same place. We got. I want to give a shout out to Bernard Brown. If y'all are not doing anything like 10 o'clock, is it? Tune in live for America After Dark. If you want to laugh, if you want to just joke around, if you just want to just, it's a great show. It's a great show.
We got Speak Freely at 4 o'clock. Pastor Smalls at 6 o'clock.
Who's my favorite?
America After. We got 7:30. We got Straight Talk with Groover Thornton. He comes on once a month, the second Saturday of the month. He'll be on today, 7:30 tonight. And he has school board candidates on, and I think he got Joyce Griggs on, and a few other people, David Brinkman.
Just watch it.
Yeah, just watch it. Y'all tune in. Tonight,
all right. Next week, we'll
7:30.
see y'all next Saturday at noon. Take
right.
care.
I like that.